for those who are just joining in, my name is Dennis Chong. I have with me today Aziana from UCTS as well, and we have Dennis Ng from ASTEEL. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. So basically, today I'm going to talk about AGIBS for design features. It's what been highlighted in one of the topics to cover actually. So basically, I'm the Assistant General Manager under ASTEEL Developments with Berhad. So without further ado, let's dive in. So today we're going to touch a bit on what are the elements of interior design. Conventional construction versus AGIBS. So AGIBS is actually a short form for ASTEEL AGIA Green Integrated Building Solution. And of course, we're going to touch on the methodology, how is it being produced, and then some of the testing that we have done on the system, and also some of the typical details, which I think later on will be helpful for the those that is doing drawings and detailings out. And then the area of the design usage and whatnot, and some fundamental of the design and build, which I think we are practicing here. And the last will be some sharing session where what are the challenges and the common failures are. Right. So I think just a refresh from our previous episode, which is conducted by Mr. Fong. I think he's inside here as well. So basically, he did a introduction on the system itself, whereby of course this system is basically not new. It's been in the market for quite some time, and it's quite established as well. And of course, at this current rate, the government also is actually promoting and encouraging the use of IBS system for building construction really. So basically today we are actually touching on what are some of the things that we have already touched on episode 1. So today episode 2, actually we are touching on the design features which we can achieve through this system actually. Right, so the topic of the coverage today will be basically on element of the interior design, just to suit the UCTS subject, and then conventional versus this AGIBS, the comparison between conventional construction as well as this AGIBS construction. What are the methodologies, and then some of the testing that we have seen in this laboratory testing. Typical sections, as well as the design, and the last will be the sharing session, where what are the challenges and common failures. So in a previous episode, Mr. Fong actually covers on the intro, the pro and the benefit of using this system. And today, actually, my part will be sharing on what are the things that we can do with it, and how do we do it actually. So since we are on the interior design school, so maybe I just want to try to relate on how this system can actually fall into places. So as what I understand, the interior design, you are touching on these few elements. So for this portion of elements, so I think I would say that our system will most likely relate to form of shapes, lines. Actually, another one actually I think should be indirectly to space actually, right? So as you all know, the conventional method which is usually commonly used on normal construction, where you are using you have this foundation, you have the stump, and then you have the beam, which later you have your column being erected, then your beam, only you put up your brick wall. As for us, our system is a bit different. It will still be a bit similar at the foundation level, but once your foundation is done, IBS system will actually replace all this superstructure, which is the column and the beam actually. So I think this diagram will give you a general insight of what the things that we're actually comparing now. Okay. So how do we normally do our conventional brick wall works? I think this is actually the steps that we normally have to do, where you will have to lay your brick piece by piece, and then of course it's quite labor intensive in a way, and then of course you have to ensure the straightness when you do your brick laying, to ensure it is actually on the level and in a straight line, so that you will not have a surface that is wavy or undulating. Of course, after you've done your brick wall, you basically have to plaster it off to ensure that the surface is smooth, right? And then followed by your skim coat, and maybe after that your painting. So these steps actually, as I put in this slide here, are the challenges that we commonly face. I think every sort of building material has its pros and cons. So I think brick wall is, I think, one of the most cheapest way to do wall up, I think. Right. So as for AGIBS, we actually use few of the equipments as shown on this screen. Of course, the accessories is actually the things that actually put all these things together. So basically, in the AGIBS wall, it consists of C channels, which is actually metal studs or C channels, and which is actually raw form through what do you call this raw form machine. So the general section will be this C75 or C90, and then also we have this U75 and U90, which is commonly used in our at Sarawak here, at least. So as you can see in this diagram, we also actually give some definition to the member, where we have the top plates, we have the nogging plates, we have the vertical studs, and then the bottom nogging plates, and as well the bottom plate. So these are some of the terms that we actually use, right? So once you have fabricated the wall, which actually is shown in episode 1's video, I think. So basically, I tried to break it even into a bit more detail, so that the participant can understand it better. So once your frame has been erected up, basically what you do is you have to put on these meshes. You have to put on these meshes. So how you do it is basically you need to use a pneumatic air gun, where you nail it onto the surface. So maybe later on I can show you some photo that is in detail, so you can see now. Right. So once the framing is done, the next thing you do is we put the conduits, which is the electricity conduits and the water conduits. Water pipes. So normally in conventional construction, this thing comes in later. After you put on your bricks and you maybe have some plaster on, then you start to hack your wall actually to put the piping, which is I think it's tedious in a way, like it's dirty as well. So our system is a bit different. M&E comes in first. So as you can see that the mesh is actually slightly transparent. Basically, you can do your checking when you are actually laying down all these conduits. So that will be helpful for the M&E contractors or engineers to troubleshoot or to check whether the position or the height is correct or not. Right. So once this is all done, checked, then we will start to do the infilling. Sorry. Hold on. Screen went blank just now. So once the infilling, once the M&E conduit is being laid, so the next thing you do, basically you do the infilling, where you fill this wall up with concrete actually. So by our standard, normally what we do, we have to go by layers.
Yeah, full screen. Click the full.
Sorry. Is that okay?
Yep.
So once you have laid the concreting, then what you do next is actually you will plaster it off. Actually, I try to show this. I have to share this in this form now. So I actually try to put a 3D model so it's easier to understand. So I hope everyone can see. So basically, the frame looks something like this. So the first one is after you have put up this frame, and of course I think this 3D import I cannot show you the mesh because it's a bit too fine. So basically you have a mesh on both sides, then you do your infilling. So once you have done your infilling, then you will plaster off at your last drawing, the last diagram, which is number 5 here. Hope everyone can see this 3D. Right. So Dennis, you are seeing my screen in what form now? Hello?
I'm seeing your PowerPoint software.
Oh, PowerPoint software. Okay.
Now,
all right.
Okay. Now this is in full mode.
Full mode. Okay. All right. So once the infilling is done, you plaster off. Basically, you can actually do your installation of your M&E equipment, which I think some of the IBS system cannot achieve because it's hollow inside. So if you were to use this, basically it's a solid wall, and you can actually fix your M&E, such as your fan, your TV, your air compressor, or your aircon onto the wall actually. So there will be no issue on that portion. So that is, I think, the benefit of using this sort of wall system, right? So how does this C channel come about? Actually, this is one of our production line. This is the actual machine that actually we're using. We call it the Enduro. So basically, on the most right, you will see this uncoiler where you load up the coil, and then you will then later fit into the feeder inlet, and then you go through a series of punching where your C section is actually pre-punched with holes and opening actually, which later, once it's done, it will then go into the roll former to form into the C or the U actually, before it comes out at the very end on the left. So you have actually a panel control PC at the front, which actually is actually like a PC, which is actually linked to a system online. So the designer at the office can actually upload the files into this machine, and the production line will basically run the production as what the engineer designed, right? So other than that, also we actually did some testing. We did some testing on the wall actually. So for those of you who are the engineers, maybe this will give you some insight on what is the strength of the wall actually. So we did a testing, full-scale testing of the size of 1.5 meter width times 3 meter height, and then we did an infill with grade 15 mortar on it actually, and then we do axial load test over on it to test the capacity of this wall. So basically, at this kind of model, it can of course take quite a very drastic amount of load actually. It's 320 kilonewton, which is actually about 32 tons actually. But of course, this is a solid wall without any opening. But of course, if there's opening, there will be another different story, like how big is the opening, how wide is the opening, right? Now, a typical section of this AGIBS wet wall, AGIBS is actually on your left-hand side, right? So on my right-hand side, it's actually this dry wall where you actually put insulation. So these two difference will be, a dry wall and a wet wall. Wet wall is where you fill it with concrete, we call it now. And then the dry wall is where you basically just use it as a dry wall partition. So basically, it can be used in two ways, right? So some of the project that we are currently doing and we have done previously is, for example, like this Sekolah Taif throughout Sarawak. Actually, we are doing this. Basically, as you can see in the photo, there is no column, there's no beam. The whole thing is actually made of this IBS. So basically, once your frame is up, you put your M&E, you fill out concrete, then you are actually good to go. So I think the record in our this we actually have this 3 bilik darjah three bilik darjah block building, which is actually completed within 48 days, if I'm not mistaken, or 42 days. So maybe later on, if we have the time, we can share that video, right? Then we also did this project booth at Sheda Expo sometime in 2019. You can see standing there, that is Mr. Fong actually, right? So we did this at BCCK, right? So this is of course the plus up of the details on the frame itself. You can see that the mesh actually is very the gap is very small. That's why we can do some infilling into it without having this concrete pouring out from the frame later on. Right. So other than that, actually, so just now we were doing this wall fill up with concrete. That's the AGIBS. Other than that, actually, we also use it for other purposes. Like for example, we are doing this assisting one of the architects to do some of the details for this Wisma Melayu. This is a new building in Kuching, actually. So basically, they want to do facade, actually. So we came up to use the frame itself to help them to give an underlayment to the structure, really, right? Then, of course, you can also use it for this sort of facade backing support, where you can use it to do your backing frame. Instead of using a very heavy head structure, you can opt for something like this to do your backing, actually, right? So these are the few common, what do you call this? A common arrangement that normally is done to do backing. So if you were to use a mouse steel, it will be very heavy usually. So we opt for this sort of lightweight sort of design that you can actually save a lot of weight to your structure. Of course, if the structure is very huge and is very heavy, of course, some consideration has to be done on the calculation. Right. See, so this one is a feature wall where they also make use of this wall frame system to do this backing support for the paneling or finishing of the building facades now. Right. And then this is some of the photos which I took from this. This is actually in Perth, Australia. Is Bannister Down Dairy Creamy. It's actually a milk farm facilities. So the external of the building are actually made of mostly steel structures. So one of the things that you can actually play on is actually using all these light gauge to form the shape and the architectural finishes that you want, actually. And then this is another design also, where they are using, I think this is basically a composite panel. So they use this lightweight structure to do the backing support, right? So of course, like I said just now, if we're doing very big structure, proper consideration needs to be made for, especially on the fixing of the this structure to the main building. So I think that's have to be considered properly . Then some of the other things that people can actually use is actually to come up with this customized mobile cabin. You see, this is actually in Australia. They did this on a pulley bed where you can actually move your house everywhere you want. So I think now COVID, people cannot go anywhere. Maybe it's high time we build a lot of all this. One can travel around Sarawak also, I think. Yeah. Right, then of course we can also do it like a customized curve profile. But of course this one is a bit labor intensive because you need to make sure that the segmented profile is actually properly divided to ensure that it achieves the curve that you want to do . So I mean this effort all require a lot of input and design from the experienced designer to tell you how to actually get this thing done now. So I see people also use it to do even like a simple lettering or alphabet. So actually it can be formed into many sorts of finishes or achieving the output that you desire actually. So yeah, I think that's some of the sharing that I want to talk about on this thing. So for me, for us and ASTEEL at least, I think the fundamental for us on this design and build will be we try to look at these three words actually now: constructability, sustainable, and of course is practical. So this is always my philosophy when we are doing design, we always try to think along this line. I think as an interior designer or architect, the building can look very pretty and look very nice, but of course it has to be in a way safe. It can be constructed and it's not endangering people. So for me, I'm an engineer. So what are normally the challenges that I face is architects try to have their building look very impressive, but sometimes without consideration on whether the structural element can be achieved or not. So I would not say it's how to call it. It can be challenging at points sometimes, but we of course try our best. We try to explore ways and try to be creative to work around it, right? So yeah. So I got this photo from the internet actually now. So I think a lot of people always come to this situation, when we have the concept sketch, it's always very pretty looking, it's very awesome. Then after you meet with the client, they want to change this and that, right? Then after you actually do your working drawing, they tell you got funding issue, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. So in the end, you end up with something totally different than what you actually have in mind. So I think this issue is very common, I think, in at least in the construction industry, because a lot of time people try to, you want to save costs, you want to cut down whatever that's not necessary. So I think these are the challenges, which I think nowadays the architects, contractor has to be creative to go around it. And then of course for me, like a design on the engineering side, it will be on this right hand side photo when your designer has this very visionary sort of design. They want to have this cantilever structure, but for us, the engineer, we always think about safety, whether this thing will go topple down or upturn or broke down. So we always try to be safe in that sense, right? So I think I just want to share also like this one. I think these two buildings, I don't know any one of you are familiar with or not. I just find this building, just for share, for thoughts. So these two buildings are actually very iconic building. I think it looks very pretty, right? It looks very pretty. It's curvy. It's a bit futuristic. But just so you know that these two design has failed the design really. Why? Because the building on the left is actually Vidara. They call it the Death Ray Hotel. You see the surface is curvy. So when the sun shines on it, basically all the sun transfer goes, how to call it, concentrated to one point. So basically there's cases where the pool area, as you can see at the bottom there, is actually like a frying pan. So this is actually a total disaster, So you try to imagine you're going on a holiday, then suddenly, the building is so nice, but you go to the pool, you are basically roasted by this concentrated sun. Same also for this building on the right. It's actually in London. So this they call it the walkie-talkie. It looks like a old school walkie-talkie style. So you see the building is actually curvy. So the same mistake also, the sun is actually glaring on the curved area. So it actually project towards down on the walkway of the common street. So that piece of walkway is actually all fried up. Even there's, I think, this famous man's Jaguar got melted by this building really. So I think I just want to share. So when we are doing design, be it interior or you are a contractor, always have this sort of consideration in mind. Because you never know, it may look pretty, it may look very magnificent, but whether it's actually logic, practical, and sustainable or not. So I think that is some of the things that I want to share, right? So I think that's pretty much from me for today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. I have questions for you actually. We also have some question in the chat bar. Let me just throw you my question first. Now I think in the last episode we have one question that we did not answer, and this is the same question I want to ask you. When we look into the AGIBS system, can we still hack the wall?
Yes, we can still hack the wall, but not to say the whole structure partially, where there's no where there's no connecting joint of the wall. Actually, there is allowance for it lah.
Okay, so the second question will be, if we are looking at the opening, when we create the opening for the door and the window, do we still need that lintel bar?
I think it all goes back to how does the design of the opening and how wide it is lah. For say you want to do some opening to get a door through pass, I don't think that should be a major issue. But if you really want to do it, you can always introduce some temporary support over it lah.
Okay. I like your slides on the mobile house. That is something that I really like. So let's continue. In the practical side, I agree with you when you talk about the practicality of this, because we are also we would like to share a bit on what we are doing here in our school as well when it comes to sustainable and practicality. So this is our new program in our school. This is coming in the coming September intake. So we have a new program in our university. I'll come back to your some of the question in a while. So we like to also share with you in this session today about one of three courses that we are talking about, especially related to today's topic, talking about practicality and sustainability. We have in our program detailing and finishes 1 and 2, where we spend a lot of time talking about detailing and finishes. And this is a very good session that we have with ASTEEL, because like in today's session we go deep, and this is something that we would like to see, and we would like to impart this kind of knowledge to our students when they join in our course. Yeah. So when you talk about finishes and detailing in our program, we have something called sustainability. We look into properties, sustainability of the materials. So as a designer nowadays, last time if you look at designers, we may be just talking about color, material, taking from catalogs, whether it suits the aesthetic part or not. But nowadays, when you look into interior design studies, it is very important for us to actually look into the properties itself. So when we read your catalog, it is important for us to know the technical aspect of that material itself in terms of performance. And one of the questions I think we have in the chat bar is talking about fire safety. Let me just read this in the chat bar. As mentioned in your AGIBS material brief, steel frames, housing component have been tested and proven withstand severe brush fire temperature of more than 1000 cc. If you convert to time, what was the period hour taken? So Dennis, you want to mention and answer, share on this question?
Yeah, maybe I can just show you the test report that we have for
excuse me, Dennis Ng.
Yeah.
Your voice is doubling.
So-called bomba.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Your voice is doubling. Everybody clear?
Okay. Now it's clear.
Are you stuck, Dennis Ng?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Maybe your line is not connected.
Is it still doubling?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't see your video.
Everybody okay?
Yeah. Very okay. Okay. I think it's
Your
okay,
pictures
right?
also, your photo also
Can hear.
stuck.
Oh,
But I can hear you clearly actually.
okay.
Oh.
Okay. Try to reshare that again. Reshare the
Hello?
screen again. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see my screen. So basically, this is testing report for our this bomba wall lah. So
Tak dengar.
I
Dapat.
think I just show you the photos now. So basically, this is a chamber where you do the fire testing.
Okay. The screen
Can you
is
see?
the
Okay.
it's a bit
So
laggy.
basically,
It's a bit laggy.
this is what you call this film testing. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's laggy. It's a bit laggy. Yeah.
How about now?
A little bit better. Yeah. Yeah. I think you can proceed. I think it's a bit better now.
So you see in this photo is I think it's a bit blur this photo. So you see this is the surface of the wall before it's being tested, like it's actually very smooth and clear, right? And then after a certain time it's taken again, the photo is 30 minutes, right? Then this is 60 minutes. You can start to see the stuff coming out. Okay, and then it gets more obvious. 120 minutes, and then this will be the last part where it's reaching more than 195 minutes, which is actually right. So you can see this photo that the surface starts to expose. Then basically this is when the wall will fail. So basically, this product is actually tested on an actual ground scenario. Yeah.
So how many hour fire rating are we looking at here?
Now we have this 195
So
minutes.
it's almost
Yeah.
It's almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do we have any more questions coming in?
So just now you were asking me about this hacking on the wall. So basically we have this manual actually, so we can actually do some renovation. You can remove the wall. This is some of the what do you call this, a guide that we have currently. Then also of course cutting and opening to the wall. So we have this allowance which is given now. So of course some of the place, if it's too wide, then basically you have to put a lintel over it .
This is in a situation where you already have the wall, a GIBS wall, and then we create a new opening.
Yeah.
So you introduce a lintel on top.
Yes.
So if we have the opening in the original design, so do we still need that lintel actually?
No.
No, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what we call it, the home manual actually . Yeah.
So one good thing that I see here is actually you can actually drill anywhere.
Yeah. Yes.
You can. The whole wall is actually is so-called a load-bearing wall already, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So let's continue. If you have any other questions from our participants, you can always just share in the chat bar. They will read your questions.
Yeah.
If not, then we will continue with today's agenda. So I was talking about our program where we look into the sustainability and properties. So as a designer, it's very important for designers to basically look into that properties, especially fire rating, safety factor, sustainability issue, and whether that material itself has some VOC or not, things like that. So in terms of our program here, we look into finishes, we look into material, and I think this entire system is something that we will be teaching, will be absorbing, will absorb the whole all the sharings here into our teaching as well as one of the references for our students in the future. And then I am also very impressed about the system where we are looking into building services from day one, because as what Dennis was saying, that in conventional way, when we do renovations or when we do installing of those services, we have to hack the wall. This is something that I think many contractor or many people will have different views how to do it and how to hack. Some people will say you use diamond cutter to cut first, then you chisel off. Some people will say why do double work? Just chisel it off, and potential cracks and all that. And these are something that we have been facing for years in market. Yeah.
I think my personal thought will be when you are doing, when I think like what you say is true. If you go to many construction sites, some of them they put the M&E first. Some contractor they will put the conduit first. Some, they let the brickwall guy go and do whatever shit they want after they're done, and then they go and cut again. So I think another factor will be, when you are doing renovation. Renovation is a different story. You really have to hack the wall. Or maybe you have to do diamond cut, like you said. But diamond cut is still applicable in this instance. We can still allow cutting on the wall, actually.
But when the cutting is there, we definitely cut the mess.
Correct. Yes.
And then we will also cut the steel bar, the rebar inside there.
Yeah.
So
of course, I think there will be some tips and tricks to avoid that. But of course, because the start, basically when we do our start, is spaced out in a way is quite consistently. So you can actually identify where is the actual position of it lah. Another way around actually is you have to use a very strong magnet. Maybe you can try to put it on the wall. Basically, the magnet will basically stay there lah.
Okay. Something to explore for when we do renovations involving this AGIBS system, existing AGIBS system. Yeah. So in terms of building services, so you are looking into all the building services which is built into the wall. Let's say the water piping, the plumbing system if it is built into the wall, and electrical conduit, lighting conduit, and particularly, I think we are looking at the waste pipe. Sometime when we need to introduce new waste pipe, what do you think? Do you think it's better to do it built into the wall, your wall, or exposed outside?
If the planning has been done in a way it's very systematic, then I would say you can just let it conceal it within your wall. If this project has no account for it properly or what sort not I think it would be better to just leave it at a place where it's serviceable actually. Now depending on what kind of pipe also, I think some pipe, if you basically, for example, I think commonly we mistake or error that we encounter, they fix the this sewerage pipe. Of course, you have the T-joint, you have the elbow. So if your jointing is poorly done, by the time you finish your house, you flush your water, you have water coming out from your beam.
Yes.
So if the testing is not done properly.
Yes.
So I think this, if you ask me, my personal opinion, it will be always exposed. It will be easier to. but of course, aesthetically, it will not be so nice looking, like having pipes exposed. Really. I
Yeah.
think back in those days, in the 70s or 80s, most of the sewage pipe actually are exposed. Like you go to old shop lots or building, you actually see all this piping running just at the corner, at one side of the building.
So this is for us. If you talk about renovation of this existing building, this is one of the I think my most concerned part, lah. You know, when we start to hack here and there, you know, and one of the practice that I always do is basically to understand that building first. I think if we have a building which is made of this system, it is important for us to understand exactly how the system works and the plan itself, and like what you say, using that magnet to detect the steel bar. Maybe this is one of the interesting way to look into it. I want to also mention about security system. You know, when we are looking into installing the security system, because security system always involve very tiny wires. So a lot of time we like to just embed it into the cement. So so-called the plaster. So my question is, when I plaster your wall, do I still, when you pour in your concrete into that system, and you have some concrete coming out from the mess, right? So then you start to plaster it off.
All right.
Do we do second plastering after that?
It depends on what kind of. I think, like for example, when we were doing this school project, actually we just plaster once only.
Oh.
Yeah, we are using a how to call this, pre-mixed plastering.
Okay.
So we just plaster off once only lah. But if you are doing like interior, like you want to do inside a proper, you know, this is a bedroom maybe or whatnot, that's for better living space environment. Basically, I think you still need to do another layer of skim coating lah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we do so? You will think that the skim coating should come after after you plaster off the original wall.
Yeah.
Because I see some people, when they do skim coating, they basically do it together. You know.
I think it will very much rely on the what do you call it? The type of plastering, or the fineness of the powder that you're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's also because of the workmanship.
Yes.
What is the method statement that we are looking at when we do
correct.
The plastering.
So there's a question from this Abdul Hafiz Muhammad, no?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's read the question. Yeah.
I will just answer the question. So he has experience working with unit Pembangunan Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Sarawak before, and handling few projects for building primary school classes and hostel for project Sekolah for Taif, JPNS. For kawasan penalaman, how do your company handle the material to the site location? Okay, to answer this question, I think this has been the challenge for Sarawak, at least, because one, we have very, in terms of connectivity of roads and public accessibility, is very limited. So how do we actually move these things from this urban area into this rural area? Is of course either through boat maybe, and of course you have lorries if you can reach the place. But for us, our things are basically, is in a loose form. Is a sea, is very light. So basically, if it's really you want to build projects still on that particular place, you can always loosen up the material and let it go by small batches actually. Yeah, of course it will still be labor intensive. You have to carry, rather than you cannot build anything at all lah. Yeah, you cannot move how do you call it? These very heavy structures, such as maybe brick. If you have a lot of brick, maybe the amount of effort to move in a brick will be tremendous, rather than lightweight steel, where you can let it go by small pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. I think yesterday, Dennis shared with me also about moving the parts by its member instead of the prefab panel.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, we are looking at not a prefab panel, but rather it is a loose piece.
Yes, correct. It still can be a prefab, but when we will still answer it in the sense of whether it's practical or not to have it prefab and then set aside. If the panel is maybe you know, you have access to it, you have a proper road to it, yeah, I think we can get it fabricated off-site and then send it to site and then you just erect. That is also possible, actually.
Yeah.
But for us, I think we will do it in a loose form. We send it in a loose form because that will save a lot of space. And then we fabricate it on site. Because after you fabricate it up, it will take up the space easily.
Yeah. I want to mention about this one thing which is related to what we are talking about here is when we are doing planning in terms of design, it is very important for us to do that planning well because this involves a lot of services and all that. If we can complete the entire planning during the design stage, this is very good. And one of the thing that we are looking at this one of the aspect that we're looking into here is the IBS system, which is the IBS, and it is related to also the one that we keep talking about now, the building information management and modeling, the BIM system. I think this is going to be in the coming future. We are looking at the consultant level using the BIM system to design, and this is one of the IBS panel which is from the manufacturer side, also going into the BIM system. So the idea here is to plan everything well and to make sure the building function in the virtual world first. So we have, like what Dennis is showing is very interesting in one of the slides just now, where you are looking into panel by panel, you can rotate your model, that is the BIM model, and you can basically detect all the problem inside the building first before you build on site. And this, you save a lot in terms of the, you don't have much waste, material waste when you start to build. So when everything works in your 3D and technically everything should work, the next one is to ship over to site. That's why Dennis was saying that you can actually install it at site in such a, like 48 days, 40 something days, you can finish the entire building. And this is impressive. Something that we should look forward to in our construction industry, and something that I think we should work hand in hand, both all the industry together. The purpose of this Let's Chat is to connect everybody together and we are from the education line. We want to make sure our students is well informed about the latest technology, and we want to link the institution of higher learning and the industry, and we have Dennis today sharing with us. So I think we are almost there. We would like to also understand what is coming next in our program. So what is next, Dennis?
Okay. I think Fong is around. Maybe you want to say something also.
Oh, Mr. Fong.
Yeah.
So. Hi, Mr. Fong.
Hi, everybody. Okay. So the next episode coming out in another 2 weeks, we are going to do this precision cutting and facade system. So eventually from the episode number 1 until this number 2 and coming up number 3, they are all linked up to have this inspired idea for all the interior design students. So we hope that through our knowledge and sharing, we hope that this part and parcel, it can help the students to put up more things and perhaps more innovative than us. So in future, these people are the new generation to create more great artwork, art piece in the futures. We're looking forward for that. All right, back to you, Dennis.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Fong. Okay, this program is not only for the students of the university. This program is meant for everyone in our industry. That's why when we send out the invitation link, we do not limit it to our own students. We would like the entire industry who are interested in this product, do join us in Let's Chat. So you can ask any questions here to our speaker, and then if we are unable to answer your question during the session, we will bring your question forward and answer in the next episode. So our next episode is coming up on September 8th, same time. So we will have a new speaker joining us. So we will inform everyone through our notice that we will send out in the next few days. So Dennis, you want to say anything before we end the show?
All right. Okay. I think that's pretty much. I think we have a good session on this this topic today. So just now you were talking about BIM. I think we actually try to embark onto that part of system. But of course, when we actually look into BIM, you know, the amount of actually exposure, at least locally in Sarawak, is still very low, which I think maybe UCTS can play one of the roles to, you know, ensure that this thing has been bring it to the students and let the student also be exposed to this sort of things, which is, I think, will be the future of construction also, because this BIM is nothing new actually in the developed country. Is something very common already actually. Just that maybe in terms of here in Sarawak, I think we are still a bit lacking. So I think it would be a good start to actually look into this. Yeah, I think that's all for me, and I hope today's session we can actually enlighten everyone or the participants on what are the things that actually we can do with this lightweight steel actually. So yeah, I think back to you, Dennis. Thank you very much.
Okay, Marziana, you want to say something before we go?
I would first. I think AGIBS is good to apply to material but this material have a limited to apply in renovation work, is it? So some part is related with our interior scope, which we will learn in part of our course as a renovation in interior design core material and finishing. The existing part is how to create a panel wall, panel decoration, so we can apply in this. So because it's a few factor in AGIBS, especially for its cost effectiveness, cost effective and how it is easy to construct, fire resistant works, durable and safe, and also waste reductions. Is it? I think hopefully this material by AGIBS give advantages and benefit for the interior works.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, I think on the interior works, I would say it will serve as your, how to call it, it works as a backstage actually lah. It works as a backstage. You still rely on a lot of your finished material to achieve what the interior finishes or the design wish to be actually lah. So I think in a way, how do I actually link this system to the interior design will be, it serves like a backbone to your structure or the panel that you want to install actually. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I wanted to end today's discussion with these final slides. These slides that I want to show you. In our year 2, if you can see here in the middle, year 2 semester 1, what we have in our course is actually a BIM course, which is a BIM-CAD application. This is where we are teaching our students how to use the building information modeling software and how to do building information management through the course. I think this is one of the first program. This is the latest one that I can say in our education program, that we are already introducing, embedding BIM system into this program. So when we look into IBS, is what Dennison was saying, that our students hopefully, and by when they graduate, they will be very much equipped with the knowledge of IBS and BIM And this is something that we are looking forward, how we can lead in terms of, especially now we have to really talk seriously about recovering the economy during the post-pandemic, and how we can work together collaboratively as one team to bring this construction industry to revive the entire industry again, you know, and this is very important. That's why program like this, chatting online, is something that we come up with, and we want to thank you one more time, ASTEEL Group, for coming up to our show, and I think we will end today's discussion here, and until we see everyone again in the coming 2 weeks, 8th of September, yeah, 8th of September, yeah. Until then, that's all for us here. We thank you everybody for joining in. Stay safe, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dennis, for having me.